Good morning, children. Today we are going to start new chapter 4, NCERT Class 8 English Macavity the Mystery Cat. So, here Macavity is the name of a ginger cat, mystery cat, the cat who is always known as Hidden Paw. So, why the cat is called mystery cat? Because the cat is a mysterious cat, and it is a mystery like secret. So, the cat Macavity is actually a fictional character which is meant by the poet in this poem. He is called Hidden Paw because he does all his work in completely secrecy. Secrecy means silence. He has also been called the master criminal. So Macavity is a mystery, a crook cat. Crook means criminal. And Macavity is a criminal cat. It is actually a crook. And why we call Macavity he? Because Macavity has given a human-like quality. Human-like quality means personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which we give human-like quality to animal and non-living thing. That is why Macavity is called he. So let's begin with the very first stanza. So let's begin a poem with the very first stanza. Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity. He is broken every human law. In the very first stanza, we'll talk about the character Macavity. So, Macavity is the name of a mystery cat who is always known as Hidden Paw. Why it is called Hidden Paw, children? Because he does all his work in complete silence, complete secrecy, and doesn't leave any proof behind. So, whenever Macavity does any crime, it did not leave any proof behind. You cannot find any single evidence at the place where Macavity does any crime. He has also been called the master criminal. Why it is called a master criminal? Because it openly refuses to obey the law. He is a mastermind cat. He is a master of crime. That's why it is called master criminal. He is the reason behind the failure, confusion and frustration of Scotland Police, Scotland Yard and Flying Squad, because Scotland Yard is actually the headquarters of the London Police Force. Scotland Yard is the headquarters of the London Police Force, and the London Police Force is looking behind Macavity. But they are very confused, they are very frustrated, they fails to catch Macavity. Every time whenever there is a crime, Macavity runs away, and the Scotland Yard police fails to catch it. By the time they reach the place where a crime has been committed, Macavity has already left the place. So this is how we have completed the first stanza of this poem. Moving to the next stanza, I think you have understood the meaning also. The meaning of bafflement, yes. The meaning of bafflement is confuse. So Macavity confuses London Police Force. And flying squad means a group of police or soldiers who are ready to move into action quickly. Alright, moving to the next stanza. Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity. He's broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity. His power of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, Macavity is not there. Okay. So, moving to the next stanza. In the next stanza, the poet mentions that there is no one like Macavity, because Macavity is a single piece. Because he is extraordinary, he is exceptional case, he is exceptional, extraordinary, and his skills are unmatched. Like no one is like Macavity. He is the only person he is the only piece, and he has defied all man-made law. Like man-made law, like we are living in a under the law, rules and regulations. So we normal human beings are living under a law, under living regulations, what is meant by the law and society. But Macavity doesn't follow any rules and regulation. That's why he has broken all the man-made law, and he has broken the law of gravity also with his jumps. Why we said that he broken the law of gravity? Because whenever his jump skills na is very shocking. His jumping skill would even shock a fakir. Fakir means fakir is a person who is well known by their powers, and fakir can float in the air. So fakir stays in astonishment because of such power. So when the police reaches, so what does the meaning of this stanza is? Whenever the police reaches the crime scene, they are unable to find Macavity. Because Macavity, whenever Macavity does any crime, it runs in a second, it jumps in a second, it leave the place, it escapes from the place. That's why and whenever the police come in a crime scene, whenever the police reach the crime scene, they may look for him in the basement or even in the air, but they cannot catch a single sight of Macavity. That's why Macavity breaks the law of gravity. Moving to the third stanza. Macavity is a ginger cat. He is very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brows is deeply lined with dough. His head is highly domed. So, Macavity is a ginger cat, ginger colored cat. Why it is called ginger cat? Because you can see the shape of the cat is like ginger cat, ginger shape. And why it is called ginger cat? Because he is very tall and lean. Lean means thin. He is very tall and very thin. The poet says that you can find Macavity, you can identify Macavity anywhere. Like the poet says, it is easy to identify him because of his appearance. Like his eyes has sunken. He has sunken eye. Sunken eye means what? Sunken means his eyeballs are sunken inside his eyeballs is sunken. So Macavity is a ginger because he is very tall and thin. You would know him. You can catch Macavity easily. He's always you can find him on a street, and he is always thinking. So Macavity is ginger cat because he is tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him. How you would know him if you saw him? Because he has sunken eye. He is always thinking. वो हमेशा सोचता रहता है, which is evident for his brow. So the shape of his brow is dark. He has the doomed forehead of a thinker. Why his face is doomed? Because he always think. He does not take much care of himself. Now doomed means round shape. उसका जो head है वो round shape में. Okay. So his face is of a round shape, and his brows is deeply lined. Now moving to the next stanza. His coat is dusty from neglect. His whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. And when you think he is half asleep, he is always wide awake. So Macavity, his coat is always dusty. Why his coat? He doesn't take much care of himself. Why? Because he doesn't have time to take his clothes for dry clean. His whiskers are always uncombed. Why his whiskers are always uncombed? Because his coat is unclean because of lack of care. His whiskers are uncapped because he is always busy in moving from one place to another. That's why he doesn't have time to comb his whiskers, and he doesn't have time to wash his coat. He sways his head from side to side means he's always seen moving his head, just like how a snake just how the snake moves now, same in that way he always moving his head. So the poet mentions that when one must think he is almost asleep, whenever you think that he is sleeping, don't ever think that he sleeps. He never sleeps, he is actually wide awake instead. Like he is always awakened. He never sleeps, he always awakened. So don't ever think that Macavity is sleeping. Whenever you think that he closes his eyes, it means he is sleeping. But he doesn't sleep, he never sleeps, he is always wide awakened instead. Moving to the last stanza of this poem. Macavity, Macavity, there is no one like Macavity, for he is a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime discovers, the Macavity is not there. So the meaning of find, his devil, and the meaning of feline is related to a cat. Depravity means moral corruption. So Macavity is exceptional cat. As I told you in the beginning only, that he is a extraordinary cat, exceptional cat, because of his skills. He has extraordinary skills that are unmatched. And so in this stanza, the poet says that there is no one like Macavity, because Macavity is extraordinary character. He has such a unmatched skills. So Macavity he is a devil in the face of a cat. Macavity is a devil, he is a demon, he is monster. The poet even calls him a monster because of his moral corruption. Moral corruption, like he does crime like killing, robbery, and all such all such type of crimes he does. That's why he is a monster of moral corruption. One must pass him at by street or in the square. Like whenever you're going on a street, you can find him in a street or in a square. आप कहीं जा रहे हो तो आप उसको देख सकते हो. कहाँ स्ट्रीट पे देख सकते हो, स्क्वायर पे देख सकते हो, जनरली कहीं भी पार्टी कर रहे हो, you can find him. But whenever a crime is discovered, whenever he does any crime, Macavity is nowhere to be found on the crime scene. So you can find him anywhere, on the street, in a restaurant, or in a square. But whenever he does any crime, you cannot find him in a crime scene. So this is how the poem, I hope you have understood. Thank you.